A very good evening. Welcome to our television's Biz RoundUp on another weekend. I'm Ashington Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines first. The appropriation bill for 2020 was passed in Parliament with amendments without a vote. Debt moratorium for COVID-19 affected businesses and individuals extended by 6 more months. Colombo Stock Exchange speeds up its plan to introduce a single window to facilitate its stakeholders. News in detail. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, under the capacity of Finance Minister, states that contrary to the forecasted dark picture, the government has settled all debt obligations, including the foreign currency debt dues for the year 2020. Premier Rajapaksa, presenting the second reading of Appropriation Bill 2020 last Thursday, stressed that it is the responsibility of the government to reduce the income expenditure gap to 4% of GDP by 2025, which now stands at nearly 10%. Thus, the bill was passed in the Parliament with amendments without a vote.
රෝගීන් හඳුනා ගැනීම, නිරෝධායන, නියම පරීක්ෂණ හා ආශ්‍රිත සුබසාධන කටයුතු සඳහා මේ වෙන විට රජය වියදම් කර මුදල් ප්‍රමාණය දැනට රුපියල් මිලියන 70,000ක් පමණ වෙනවා. මේ 2020 සිට වාර්ෂිකව ගෙවීමට ඇති විදේශ ණය සේවා ප්‍රමාණය ඩොලර් මිලියන 4,200ක් පමණ වෙනවා. විපක්ෂයේ සහ ඔවුන්ට උපදෙස් දෙන දේශීය හා විදේශීය විශේෂඥයින් පුරෝකථනය කළේ රට විශාල ණය ගුලකට ලීන් ණය සේවා පැවැර රටක් වන බවයි. එම පුරෝකථන වලින් පෙන්වූ අඳුරු චිත්‍රය වෙනුවට අපේ රජය 2020 සඳහා ගෙවීමට තිබූ විදේශ ණය ඇතුළු සියලු ණය ගෙවූ බවද එම ගරු සභාවට වාර්තා කරන්නේ ඉමහත් සතුටකිනි. ඒ අතරම 2020 විසර්ජන කෙටුම්පත් පතේ දක්වා ඇති වියදම් ශීර්ෂ කීපයක් සංශෝධනය කරන අතර ඒවා මම සභාගත කරනවා. එම වියදම් සංශෝධනය සමග 2020 විසර්ජන කෙටුම්පතේ සඳහන් ණය ගැනීම බිලියන 180කින් වැඩි යෝජනා කරනවා. ඒ අතරම රාජ්‍ය මූල්‍ය කළමනාකරණය පනතේ අඩංගු අපකර සීමාව 15% දක්වා සංශෝධනය කිරීමටත් යෝජනා කරනවා. කරු කතානායකතුමනි, අප රජයේ අයවැය ප්‍රතිපත්තියේ අන්තර්ගතය වන්නේ පසුගිය වසර 5 තුළ සිදු වූ විනාශකාරී සමාජ හා ආර්ථික වෙනස් කිරීමයි. අප රටේ ආර්ථික සංවර්ධන ස්වාධීනත්වය ඇති කිරීමට මෙම ගමන් මගින් ඉවත් වීම අත්‍යවශ්‍යයෙන්ම කළ යුතුව තිබෙනවා. දැනට පවත්නා 10%කට ආසන්න ආදායම් වියදම් හා පරතරය 2025 4%කට අඩු කිරීමට වගේම සමස්ත ණය 75%කට ඉදිරි වසර 4 තුළ අඩු කිරීම අපගේ රජයේ මූල්‍ය වගකීමයි. අප ණයන මෙන්ම අපටම නිපදවාගත හැකි ආනයනයන් අවම වන නිෂ්පාදීන ආර්ථිකයක් ගැන උත්සාහය තැබීම ජාතික ප්‍රමුඛතාවක් දී තිබෙනවා. ඇඟලුම් හා තේ මත පමණක් හොඳා පවතින අපනයන ආර්ථිකයේ විවිධාකාරණ නොකර අපනයනයෙන් මෙම් දෙගුණයක් ආනයනය කරමින් දේශීය සම්පත් හා අමුද්‍රව්‍යයන්ට එකතු කර නොකර වෙළඳ සාර්ථකයක් සිරසාර සංවර්ධනයක් ඇති කරන්නේ නැහැ. කෘෂි දීවර හා පශු සම්පත් වලින් ආහාර සුරක්ෂිතතාවය හා කුෂ්කර්මාත්මීකරණයක් හා ඒ වටා ගොඩනැගිය යුතු සේවාවන් මතු නොකර ආනයනය මත ගොඩනැගුණු පාරිභෝගික හා කාර්මිකකරණය තුළින් ජනතා අභිලාෂයන් ඉටුවන සංවර්ධනයක් ඇතිවන්නේද නැහැ. ඍණ ආර්ථිකය ධනාත්මක 6% ඉහළ වර්ධනය වේගයකට නංවා ගැනීම පමණක් නොව එයට සමගාමීව හා එහි ප්‍රතිඵලයක් ලෙස දුප්පත්කම තුරන් කර ගත යුතු වෙනවා.
The debate for the second reading of the appropriation bill for 2020 was commenced by Samagi Jana Balawegaya parliamentarian Kabir Hashim last Thursday, and he voiced that the normal procedure is seeking the early approval from the parliament, but the incumbent government is seeking approval for already closed accounts.
In the language of common parlance, Honourable Speaker, this House is asking to vote for a covering approval for expenditure already incurred. This has never happened. අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා ණය ගැනීම ගැන කිව්වා. මම කියන්න කැමති මේ උත්තරීතර සභාව හැර කිසිම ආයතනයකට කෙනෙකුට ආණ්ඩුවට ණය ගැනීම පිළිබඳ අවසරයක් දෙන්න බෑ. All public finance is under the control of this August Assembly. After 73 years of independence, the biggest debt that you have added on is in this year. විශ්ව පළවෙනි මාස 4ක සහ අවසන් මාස 4ක vote on account එකක් හරහා ඒ vote on account දෙකක් හරහා මේ සභාව ඒ අවසරය ලබා දුන්නා ණය ගැනීම සඳහා ඒ කාල පරිච්ඡේදයට. හැබැයි මැද මාස 4ක ණය ගැනීම සඳහා කවුද අවසරය දුන්නේ?
Meanwhile, SJB parliamentarian M.A. Sumandiran, joining in the debate on the appropriation bill for the year 2020, said that the government's decision of facilitating the general public who are distressed by the COVID-19 with monetary assistance is a violation of the constitution.
Now, even those two resolutions passed by this House can only be used to pay for specified public services and not for anything else. All of us know that that is not how finances have been handled in the country for this year. There has been a severe need to make payments, to spend, to make grants to general public who were affected in several areas. In the whole country, people were given 5,000 rupees in the month of April and May. None of those are public services. But all those expenditure was done. Those expenses were met. Developmental activity was also carried out. All this in violation of the very strict limitation imposed by the provision in the Constitution that says for specified public services only.
You know, you have to either reprofile our debt and then try and get some way in which we should be able to go for some moratorium in the future. You're welcome, you're welcome. We have worked out the logistics as to how we are going to manage the debt, Honourable Member. So we are confident that we can manage that at this moment with the resources that we are having as well as with the plans that we are going to put in place. So while I deeply appreciate your concern and your advice, we think at the moment we won't need to do that, and we would like to prove you wrong in that manner. So thank you very much for your advice.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Specialized banks as well as non-bank financial institutions was issued by the central bank last Monday.
With a view to meeting the challenges faced by businesses and individuals due to the second wave of COVID-19, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has directed the licensed commercial banks and licensed specialized banks to extend the debt moratorium to COVID-19 affected businesses and individuals for a further period of 6 months commencing from 1st of October 2020. Accordingly, the relevant circular issued to give effect to the scheme in a consistent manner across all licensed banks. However, licensed bank may offer any additional concessions to borrowers in a way that the overall benefits to borrowers are not less than the benefits offered under this circular. Thereby, the moratorium should be granted for both capital and interest on the request made by affected borrowers. Interested businesses and individuals can make the written request by the end of this month. The central bank said businesses, proprietors and individuals engaged in tourism, direct and indirect export-related businesses, including apparel, IT, tea, spices, plantation, logistics suppliers, event management, and any other sectors that had been adversely affected by work disruption and local and overseas lockdowns resulting from COVID-19 are included. Furthermore, it includes small and medium enterprises and individuals engaged in business sectors such as manufacturing, non-financial services, agriculture, construction, value addition and trading businesses, including authorized domestic pharmaceutical suppliers. Debt moratorium extensions is also allowed for self-employment businesses and individuals who have lost their income due to the outbreak of COVID-19, as well as foreign currency earners who have to repay loans in foreign currency and whose incomes have been adversely affected due to the outbreak of COVID-19.
The Colombo Stock Exchange has launched an action plan to address key areas relating to the process of listing a company on the CSE by simplifying the process, eliminating any redundant approval steps, and improving the time to market for companies' new and follow-on offerings of equity and debt. Thus, CSE is in the progress of introducing a single window which will address the problems faced by the companies through a single point of contact. Commenting on the new plan to streamline the listing process, CSE Chairman Dumit Fernando said that increasing the number of companies listed on the exchange is one of the CSE's key strategic objectives, and that simplifying the listing process would attract more companies to raise capital through the CSE, helping them unlock value and create wealth for their shareholders. Thereby, this new plan includes the reduction of documentation that have to be submitted with the listing application and the removal of certain disclosures in the prospectus and introductory document. Another significant change by the CSE is the introduction of a single window customer relationship unit that will be set up within the CSE to identify potential listing candidate companies, work with such companies and assist them through the listing process. This will make it easier for companies and their advisors to understand and address any problems faced in the process through a single point of contact. With the objective of further enhancing the transparency of the listing process, an online tracking tool for all listing applications that have been submitted to the CSE will also be introduced. The CSE now offers equity and debt-based fundraising options for companies of all sizes, from large conglomerates to small and medium enterprises, through versatile listing platforms such as the Main, Dirisavi and Empower boards. Central Bank announces that the trade deficit for the month of September shows a satisfactory improvement and the trade gap is $232 million compared to the same month in 2019. The latest report by the CBSL reports that the major contributory factors for this outcome are the exports of PPE products and the minor agricultural products. Sri Lanka's external sector recovered further in September 2020, supported by the continued improvement in the trade deficit, a notable increase in workers' remittances, and the resultant stability in the domestic foreign exchange market. The trade deficit improved in September 2020 compared to an year earlier, with a more than expected rebound in merchandise exports and a reduction in merchandise imports during the month. In September 2020, workers' remittances recorded the highest year-on-year growth since end of 2011. In the financial account, the government securities market recorded a marginal foreign investment inflow during the month, while the Colombo Stock Exchange recorded outflows. Net inflows to the domestic foreign exchange market eased the pressure on the exchange rate and enabled the central bank to absorb foreign exchange on a net basis to build up gross official reserves. Reflecting these developments, the Sri Lankan rupee appreciated during the month of September 2020. A deficit of $525 million was recorded in the trade account in September 2020, which was significantly lower than the deficit of $757 million recorded in September 2019. The improvement in the trade deficit during the month was due to lower level of imports and higher level of exports in September 2020 compared to September 2019. The cumulative deficit in the trade account from January to September 2020 narrowed to $4,337 million from the deficit of $5,612 million recorded in the same period in 2019. Based on a United Nations Conference on Trade and Development report, the global tourism industry will cause a loss of 1.5% to 2.8% on global gross domestic product, and it would translate to a $1.17 trillion to $2.22 trillion loss for the global economy. It was further noted that $730 billion loss in global tourism exports from January to August 2020 has incurred. On a critical note, tourism is ranked as the third largest export sector in the global economy, and it accounts for over 30% of exports for many of the small island developing states. On the other hand, between January and August 2020, the number of international tourist arrivals has dropped by 70%, according to the World Tourism Organization. Moreover, according to the latest external report of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, total tourist arrivals remained at 507,311 during the 9 months ending September 2020, compared to 1,376,312 arrivals recorded during the corresponding period in 2019. Further, cumulative earnings from tourism, which are estimated based on tourist arrivals, remained at $956 million during the year up to September 2020, thus recording a drop of 63.1% from the corresponding period of 2019. Now, a subject expert of investment institution First Capital Holdings will be providing you the usual detailed analysis of the trading of the Colombo Stock Exchange.
After the heavy run last week, the overall market was onto a sluggish note this week, where we saw mixed reactions in the market. So some days were positive, some days were negative, and then towards the end of the week, we saw the market stagnating at similar positions. So with this, we are starting to see the slowness mainly because of the profit taking in the market. Now the market has exceeded the 6,000 mark. The SPI is in above the 6,000 territory. So with that, we are seeing a bit of profit taking in the market. Most of the retail community seems to be having a mixed reaction. So if you look at the foreign front, the foreigners have been on a exiting note, and foreign outflows have been accelerating in recent times as well. So at the moment, year-to-date foreign outflow stands at around 47 billion, and month-to-date is around 2.2 billion.
Moreover, head of First Capital Holdings, Dimantha Matthew, put forward the forecast for the coming week.
Looking at the upcoming week, with the budget being coming on the 17th of November, we feel during the first part of the week, until the budget is completed, there could be a bit of a slowness in the overall market, because most of the retail community seems to be on a wait-and-see attitude as to look at what will transpire from the budget. And with that, we feel that there will be a bit of a slowness, and then depending on the outcome of the budget, we feel that there could be positivities or negativities in the market. However, there is expectations that there will be further benefits for the manufacturing and exporters from the upcoming budget. So on that expectation, we could expect somewhat of a buying interest in those manufacturing-led sectors, material sectors. So those kind of sectors, even food and beverage sector, are some of the sectors that could have some buying interest by the investor community. Foreigners are likely to be on the exiting from the market, because that has been the past trend.
With that, we are wrapping up news for the week. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care. Good night.